Hi, everybody. I'm Jim. This is Great Books, Big Ideas. And today on the show, I want to start a new series, if you will, a new playlist. And I'm going to be looking at these Horizon magazines that are in my collection. I do not have a complete set of these, but I have enough of them that we can have fun walking through them. So we'll do some show and tell today, tell you a little bit about Horizon magazine, where they come from, and we'll walk through this issue from spring 1975. Are you ready to roll back to the 70s? I am. Let's get rolling. Keep on trucking right here on Great Books, Big Ideas. So first, a couple facts about Horizon magazine. It was an American magazine published from 1958 to 1989, nice long run, and it was originally published by American Heritage. American Heritage is famous for their history publications, and it was a bi-monthly hardback magazine, subtitled A Magazine of the Arts. And these magazines are really kind of a lot of fun to browse through. I see them often in used bookshops and library sales. For a while, I was collecting them, but they're very heavy. They take up a lot of shelf space, and I knew I wasn't going to get them all. But at the same time, I do have a lot of these around. I don't have a number, but it's enough to get some episodes out of, and I think you're going to enjoy these. And if from time to time I find issues I don't have that look interesting, I'll share them with you. This is a magazine that's kind of fallen down the memory hole. It's never been digitized. There's some backstory here where I came across a master table of contents on somebody's, I think it was on somebody's blog, and they, I think that blog was no longer in existence after a while, and then I found archive.org. So I copied and pasted the table of contents into my own blog and just kind of wanted to share it with people, whoever might be interested in this. Well, lo and behold, Wikipedia picked that up, and I think they published a table of contents, or they linked to the blog. And long story short, I was contacted by the current publisher of American Heritage, who had expressed interest in digitizing all these back issues of the magazine. He would like to see this reach a wider audience, but it's a kind of a shaggy dog story, but one thing didn't lead to another. I'll just put it that way. And I thought it was a cool idea, but we tried to get something set up through my college where I worked at. It never to get like interns to help, and nobody really ever picked up the ball at the institution that I was working with. So it just kind of fell by the wayside. But I don't know if that guy has been continuing his efforts to digitize the magazine or not. But long story short, they published all kinds of stuff for arts and culture and history and philosophy, and it's, as any good magazine, it's a time capsule of its time and place. And we can learn a lot about what was interesting to people, what was important to people, by looking at these back issues. I just picked a Horizon issue off the top of the pile, and it happens to be the spring 1975 issue. So let's jump in and see exactly what's going on in this magazine, shall we? Let's just note off the masthead that Shirley Tomkowitz was the editor at the time, and the cover art is Viking ships. These seagoing cockle shells are Viking ships, or at least were intended as such by the 12th century English artist who painted them. It's a miniature from a manuscript called The Miracles of St. Edmund. Very colorful. And again, these magazines, unlike most magazines, they're hardcover. large format, full color printing. Here's our table of contents, but let's just walk through. You're going to be all over the place, but here's some great 70s art, right? A painting for Horizon by Dennis Corrigan. This is an article about spies. In fact, as in fiction, the spy is the indispensable man of our time, yet his activity poses a deadly threat to the open society. And it leads with talking about Watergate scandal and the CIA involvement, all that stuff. But it looks like you're going to get a history of spies with some sidebars. Now, I have not read this issue, so I'm kind of going through it with you for the first time. Virgin territory. Nice long article. And here is an article called On Second Thought, How Republics Die, What Kills Representative Governments. It is not always the mob. This one I might have to read, given the state of affairs in 2026. Oh my. Let's read the lead paragraph. It is one of the revealing curiosities of history that the founders of the American Republic were none too sanguine about the viability of Republican government. Some of them feared that the new republic might fall under the sway of a despot raised to power by the ignorant masses. Others that it might be subverted by an oligarchy of the privileged. These were and still are deeply considered and honorable, though contradictory views. The citizens who hold one or the other might in fact be thought of as constituting the two real and enduring parties in any republic, whatever the official views of the official political parties might be. This was an article by Walter Karp, by the way. And boy, I'm going to have to read this one. And it looks like it's pretty short. It's just a 2-pager, so maybe like a commentary piece. Next up, we have an article by Dom Moraes, The Pleasures of Tapestry. Once only decorative installation, tapestry came to embody the visions of great masters. Here, a poet reports on this historic and still flourishing art form. Nice. Tapestries for our time. Like the doggy. Nice. Looks good. Oh, this was cool to see. Man of Ideas by Roy McMullen, the rear guard of the avant-garde, with righteous indignation, structuralism, and something called semiotics. A multifaceted Frenchman named Roland Barthes is capturing a growing audience for his social and literary criticism. And there's a nice photo of Roland Barthes. Barthes is a guy I read in grad school for the first time, read his book Mythologies for a pop culture class. And he was, in a lot of ways, my introduction to like high literary theory. Not all of which, or most of which, doesn't carry a lot of weight with me, but some of it is pretty interesting. And Barthes was one of the more interesting ones. I liked his book about popular culture to the extent that I can understand it. But he was a bit of a maverick. He didn't have much longer to live. I think he died in the 80s. He got, if I'm not mistaken, he got hit by a bus. And here's a quote from Mythologies. But you have a profile piece about Roland Barthes. Excerpt from an S/Z. Well, that's his book about Balzac's Sarracine. And we move on to our next article, 6 Crises and Cookery. From a mess of pottage to chicken marengo, here are great moments in culinary history selected by an artist and recreated in savory detail. I'm getting hungry. Bouquet garni of etchings for Horizon by Zevi Bloom. Nice. Looks like a fun article. Next, we have an article by J.H. Plum, In the Flight of the Past, Inflation. That could also be a timely read. And that looks like it's just a 2-page article. Next is Henry Mayhew's Other London, the chimney sweeps, the streetwalkers, the little match girls, the down and outers. These were the Londoners that a pioneering journalist wove into a memorable document of social history. I'm liking the artwork. Nice long article. Next up we have Portrait Session, Dead to the World. Look closely at this corpse. It's trying to tell you something. M. Bayard, inventor of the process of which you have just seen. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's about photography. Next is Man and His Best Friend by Anthony Smith. If you think you hear super clones in the rising drumbeat of genetic engineering, listen again and reconsider the story of Man and His Best Friend. So it looks like a story about dogs by Anthony Smith. One cool thing about Horizon is they got some pretty high-class journalists and intellectuals to write for them, so you can find all kinds of interesting perspectives. Next is The Lure of the Vikings, a feature. Were they, as one contemporary claimed, the filthiest people under God? Perhaps. But from Icelandic saga to present-day comic strip, an aura of romance surrounds them. And this is by Lionel Casson. Here is a subscription card. Let's see what it cost to get Horizon magazine back in the day, in the 70s. 4 issues, billed me $26 after I received my first copy. $4 less than the price of the same 4 issues. It bought at their single copy a price of $7.50 each. So $26 for 4 issues. Not cheap back then, but this was a magazine really for middle-brow, and maybe some highbrow households. We had a lot more of that going on back in the 70s than we do today. Continuing on with Vikings, you can see lots of beautiful photography, artwork. You can just learn so much from these magazines. Find an issue, something that interests you, and just go for it. Next up is The Perfect Interpreter of the English Countryside by Ronald Blythe. Looks like it's about John Constable, the landscape painter. John Constable sought to paint the skies and trees and most of all the light of England, an idea that shocked the art establishment of his time. Really good painter. You can see the art focus here in much of these stories. So we got a nice article about Constable. And a portfolio of Constable's oil sketches. Look at that. Seascape study with rain clouds, 1824, 1825. Weymouth Bay, 1816. Branch Hill Pond, study of clouds, Brighton Beach. Coast Scene. Next up, houses that just grew. Before the energy shortage makes our glass boxes obsolete, we might look to the yurt, the igloo, and the stone cottage for a lesson in efficiency. By Frederick Grunfeld. Interesting. And next is about it's called Out of Africa, Something New. An old Kenyan remembers a great-hearted woman who was also, as Isaac Dinesen, one of the most gifted storytellers of all time. Interesting. I like that photo. This one too. And that's going to round out the issue. Waiting for the end on the last page. The sirens screamed, the buzz bombs roared, and the indomitable Sitwells read on and on. So, Sacherville, Edith, and Osbert Sitwell, photographed by Cecil Beaton. This is by Francis Russell. Yeah, I mean, we're just all over the map in spring of 1975 with Horizon Magazine. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed that show and tell walkthrough of this very colorful, splashy, eclectic spring 75 issue of Horizon Magazine. I'm going to start a playlist for this, and you can subscribe to that or save it, come back, and from time to time we'll do more of these walkthroughs of Horizon. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you. Be well. Peace out.